Tranjeet, welcome back to the Pure Ish Show. Yesterday when we were talking, the example was given that when you learn to drive a car, you have an instructor. You know, you get in the car, he says, right, put it into neutral, put your hands on the steering wheel like this, press the gear, put your right foot on the brakes or your left foot or whatever it is. The point being, that person is the expert and he or she is teaching you how to drive a car.
Yeah.
Now, what people don't realize, and I certainly don't, is that when it comes to relationships, marriage, no one teaches you. You don't have an expert like you're sitting in the car. Right? And I feel that people in relationships, especially in marriage, they need help. I can certainly say men need help. And if I can't speak for a lot of men, I can speak for myself.
I think women need it too.
Yeah,
women need it too,
but I would dare not speak for women. I'd get into a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
But the point is, in the same way that if you press the wrong pedal in a car, you'd crash it. Right? The amount of crashes I realise that I've caused, I'll admit it first. The amount of crashes that I've caused in my marriage, right? It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
If that was a car version, that car's been written off too many times.
Yeah,
But that for me is not only tragic about me or my relationship. It's tragic for people in all relationships.
Absolutely.
But this is the point I was trying to get across to you: is that no one has that instructor, and so someone like yourself, who does that must be one of the most powerful and amazing things that one can do. You must get great satisfaction out of helping
Very
people.
rewarding. I love my job. It's not even like I'm working. It feels like
you don't even think of it as a job.
Yeah, it's not a job. It's just it's my passion to help somebody else and to make a difference. And like you said, it's kind of, you sometimes need that self-help, don't you? And it's good if you did have a book on marriage or relationships.
Like a
manual.
manual.
I'm sure there's loads out there, but it's just actually, if we had a step-to-step guide on relationships, it would be brilliant. But a lot of us haven't got the awareness on how to kind of, gear our, like you so to speak, your metaphor about driving.
Of course.
We wish we did have,
even traffic lights. You come to a traffic lights in a car.
Yeah.
You go, red means stop, so I better calm down.
Yeah.
You know, amber means get ready, and green means go. But in a marriage,
you don't get that.
I wish someone told me when the stop means, listen, I should back down.
Yeah.
And I probably pressed the rev button and gone green. But can you see? I'd rather keep using those examples.
Like you mentioned earlier, it's like having a car crash, isn't it? You just don't know how to kind of handle it. So my job is really to kind of, facilitate kind of like mediation, where kind of giving strategies, techniques to couples to actually to kind of put in their marriage, to kind of give them step-by-step hand-holding, so to speak, about how to kind of
simple ways
the relationship, how to kind of maybe build a healthier relationship. And it's all about strategies, techniques, but it's all about having the awareness on how the other person is feeling, or how your behaviour, your actions or reactions are affecting that other person. But like I've been saying on all the other shows, it's ourself. We don't realise our behaviour, the way we behave towards someone else, or if we don't like somebody else's behaviour, it's like a mirror reflection of us. So really, it's all about how we can actually put the pieces together and have a healthier relationship. And it's all about actually having the awareness and on how we want to be ourselves. How do you want your relationship? What do you want out of your relationship? It's all about what you want out of your relationship.
But a lot of the times, you must admit, Tranjeet, people don't analyse that.
Yeah.
People don't think that far ahead of this. They're so busy in their lives.
Yeah.
But I think what happens, what are the common faults that you see in couples, in marriage? What are the common themes that you see when you're coaching people, not counselling, counselling?
Yeah, a lot of, like we spoke yesterday, is communication, but also the attention.
But when you say communication, that's a generic
word.
Breakdown,
So a lack of communication.
They're not talking to each other clearly.
Yeah.
They're not expressing their feelings.
And it's responsiveness. That means, like, for example, tennis.
Yes.
So I'll give you an example. So one tennis, you need two people.
Yeah.
So one person's kind of sending a message to the other person, throwing the ball.
Yeah.
The other person's throwing the ball back, and it's that's the responsiveness. But so if you're kind of communicating in that way, think of it. That's like a metaphor. Think of it if you're having an argument. or not even an argument, and one person's trying to communicate to the other person, but is the other person communicating back? And that means responsiveness, meaning that are you responding to that person, what they're asking of you, or asking, you know, what their needs are, what
so are you actively listening?
Yes, are you actively listening,
this,
like we said, you know, on the last show?
Yeah.
So it's all about, for example, when I give the metaphor again about tennis, it's like if one person is actually, I'll give you an example. So the sender, so the person that's communicating to the receiver, let's call the sender and the receiver.
Well, why don't you use traffic lights? Traffic lights is much easier.
So let me just make my point first.
Go
So with what I'm trying to say about the tennis is about back and forth response. So when we're communicating, so now we're talking. I'm answering your questions. You're asking me questions. So it's back and forth. So what happens in a relationship when you're asking something of somebody else, the other receiver's not responding back to you? So that's when the breakdown of communication comes about. So for example, if one person's asking, so I'll give you an example. So one person saying, oh, I feel tired, I've come back from work, I feel tired today, and then the responder, you know, the receiver, is actually saying, oh, okay, does that mean you feel tired, so should we have takeaway tonight then? You know, that's an example. And yeah, I would prefer that. I am feeling tired. Okay, what would you like? And then he'll respond back and say, well, that's a good communication. Let's you know, whatever they feel like having. He'll respond back. Let's have that, and maybe then you can relax maybe. But if it was like the lack of communication, on the other hand, it would be the I'm feeling tired today, and the other one would say, oh, right, okay, and you know, wouldn't respond back and say, well, should we have takeaway then? Would say, you know, and then the responder would actually say back that, yeah, should we have takeaway? What do you want? I don't know. I can't be bothered. You know, you sort it out.
So it's a breakdown in communication.
It's a breakdown because he's not responding back on what she wants. The other side of the communication is actually you're really responding.
Tranjeet, what I'm asking though, what are the common themes that cause problems in marriages or relationships? What do you find are the common themes? So communication is. So when you say communication, let's be absolutely clear about this. What you're saying is that a couple. They start off all bright and starry-eyed and excited and happy and in love, but when they stop talking to each other, dare I say honestly, or they stop expressing their feelings honestly, either they'll keep it in, either they'll express it and get angry. But the point is, by not communicating effectively, not talking effectively, in a manner that both people can speak openly in a calm way, that is a major influence, isn't it? That is a major cause in a lot of relationships. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, I get, that's what I get, a lack of communication, but equally attention. You know, attention. You know, sometimes the partner's probably feeling that there's not getting much attention, and that is lack of communication too. But attention in the sense of, you know, what you've
giving quality time.
Yeah, giving quality time and asking how their day's been, and actually asking detail and listening to it and being active and asking them what you've been doing, and them feeling wanted as well. Because sometimes giving attention is like you feel wanted, don't you? You feel loved because actually that person is paying you attention and really listening to what you've done
and
today,
giving you attention,
and giving you the attention, actually really listening to you and actually giving you the attention and actually wanting to know what you've been doing during the day and how's your day been? Has it been a good day or has it been a bad day? And sometimes you want to share that with someone, you know, throughout the day. Genuinely. You actually
so let's say from a man's perspective, a man comes home and says to his wife, by the way, just to let you know, later on I'm taking you out for dinner. Or I'm going to take you to the pictures. And I've already organised it. That is giving attention, isn't it?
Absolutely. Or it could be just simple as that, just coming in and giving her a hug or a kiss. You know, just something simple, or saying, or just communicating with her and saying, oh, how's your day been? What you been up to?
But being genuine about it.
Yeah, and or I've missed you today, or just you know, throughout the day, maybe attention, sending a text, or throughout the day, what you up to. Or just something simple as that. It doesn't even mean that you have to really go out your way and go out for a meal. It doesn't even mean that. It just means something simple by actually just giving her or him attention that you're actually are with. What I'm trying to say is connection. What you're trying to say, we're connected, aren't we? We are together. the togetherness, and that makes a man or a woman
that
feels
electricity.
connecting.
It shows that it's on.
You've been doing your own thing all day, then that electricity when you come home is togetherness again, and you're actually connecting again, and that is by giving your attention and your appreciation and recognition that we're here as a couple, we love each other. Obviously you don't have to say it 24 hours, but by just showing that little bit of affection as well, because I also go with the class A, and that means, like, you know, showing affection, you know, attention, you know, also adoring somebody, also, you know, finding...
What's the difference between affection and attention? Please break this down for me. No, seriously.
So affection and attention.
So affection,
affection is like showing someone you love them. Affection, so you could be by connecting by physically touching somebody,
or giving
a hug or a kiss. That could be or texting somebody. And did you say affection?
Affection.
So affection is like somebody touching somebody or giving them a hug.
Or holding their hands.
Attention is by just actually actively listening to them and asking them, how's your day been? What you've been doing? Really being interested in them, not just actually.
So being attentive as well.
Attentive, that's right. Yeah, but actually really listening to what they've got to say for their day. So if they've had a hard day at work or a hard day at home, wherever they've been, they can actually really you know, let loose and actually express what they've been doing, and that person is actually listening to them instead of actually you know, just
just
texting or watching TV,
or just pretending, or just saying hi, love, how are you, and getting on with the thing.
Being attentive to that person, really being there and being in that connection by actually listening to them instead of saying yeah, and then going on to something else, but actually asking them questions about their day. So have a question about, you know, if you've had a bad day, or what happened. Well, you know, really going into detail about it, and then that's where they feel a bit wanted as well, thinking, oh, he's really paying attention to me, and I like that. And
well,
then
Tranjeet, you know, because the dire consequences is when all this doesn't happen. You know, and you're saying what should happen, but we all know that a lot of people don't do this, and so the consequences of not doing this is what causes relationship to be negative.
That's right.
So we'll take a break there, and we'll talk about the consequences of what happens when you don't do this.
Okay.
We'll take a break there. Thank you.
And my heart goes boom, boom, boom. And my heart goes boom, boom, boom. Hey!
So Tranjeet, in the first half of the show, we were talking about what should be done. You know, the attention, affection, adoring as well. The 3 A's. Are there any more A's that should be? But those 3 are enough.
Well, how to be attractive as well in your marriage, and we can talk about that as well, and that's really important thing we can go through as well.
Let's finish as A. So being attractive.
And that doesn't mean just physically. It means psychologically.
But are you? Let me hold you there. Are you saying attraction as in looking good for your partner?
Not like I said.
Feeling good for your partner.
Feeling good, but I mean on a mental level, on a physical. So you know, like psychologically, your mind, how you becoming independent. So psychologically independent. So that means a free thinker, and also being kind of assertive. That means don't be in his shadows or her shadows. Be independent, meaning start kind of living your dreams too. So instead of actually not, you know, shadowing him what he wants or she wants, actually start living your own dreams. What do you want out of your relationship, but out of your life? What's your purpose? What do you want?
Yes.
So that means actually be comfortable and be, you know, actually confident in your own as a own being. Actually go.
So what you're saying?
So be attractive, meaning that you're not needy. So you're not needy on that person, wanting them to fulfill your needs. So that means, when I mean by shadow, don't be in their shadow, is actually become your own person too, and that becomes more attractive.
Give a real life example of that on the people that you coach.
So a lot of some of the people I do coach is like the woman is very needy. So that means or the man is. So it could be, for example, I had a couple where the equally, it was the one partner wasn't working, so it was quite needy on security, on money, needy on actually as well, you know, wanting to go out and buy things, but she couldn't because obviously she was needed on him. So I
She had a
kind of,
reliance.
yeah, reliance. So I kind of turned it around. But if you had, what's your purpose? You know, what do you want? So it comes. She wanted her own career as well and a job and to fulfill her own needs. So when I mean be attractive, attractive means be attractive that you actually can stand on your own 2 feet.
Yeah.
And when you can stand on your own 2 feet, you don't really have that reliance on that other person. Just all you need the reliance is having that loving relationship. Yes, that doesn't mean you don't need that security. Everybody needs security, but don't have that neediness of actually always someone being there for me, or should be there.
So you're trying to say that
So-
they should stand
so
up
that-
in their own right,
That's right.
whatever happens.
Yeah, yeah. So stand up. So when I mean psychologically independent, that means be a free thinker. So free thinker meaning go and actually find your own dream as well, your own journey. When that means that becomes attractive to that person, because actually so in that relationship I was coaching, that woman was actually starting to think, yeah, I want to start, doing things for myself, and I need to, because you just don't know what could happen in anybody's life. If you're left on your own or whatever, you can actually survive, independently by yourself. So I always actually, my coaching, I actually give examples of how to be attractive, and that doesn't mean looking good. Yeah, of course, it is about looking good, because you want that attraction from that connection with the other partner, but it's also on a mental level, being attracted to that person.
But also, Tranjeet, there's a power relation thing as well, isn't it? In any relationship, there's power relations. When someone's working, there's a different relationship with their partner to when they're not working.
That's right.
And
yeah.
I mean, if a partner's kind, caring, and loving, they will respect irrespective
That's right.
of the economics of it. But it doesn't always work out like that. And there's a great shift.
Well, that's,
I mean, if I give an example
Yeah,
of
of course.
some distant relatives I have, and when the wife was working, the husband was far more attentive, far more like, what you doing, how you doing, what it is, when are we going to have some time. Since they've had children, and she doesn't work, and he insisted that she should stay at home, the power relations have shifted. Like he's like, so what? You don't bring in the income. I'm bringing the income.
And that's where like you was asking about the conflict. That's where the conflict in a
and
relationship
and what
occurs.
do you do in this marriage? And she cannot believe he's saying things like, what do you do in this marriage? Like he's judging it purely now on economics. Like, hey, I'm the breadwinner.
I bring everything in. You're nothing.
And she's so offended by that.
Well, that's hurtful, and that's where I was trying.
And that's
to
what I'm saying about power relations. I mean, there he was before, like. What are you doing? Oh, are you going to come home after? Oh, you're going to go with your friends.
Now it's a different ballgame, isn't it? Yeah.
And now she can't see him for dust.
And that's what that's what I see quite a lot actually, where the man or the woman is actually throwing it in their face. Oh, well, you're not bringing anything in. You're not doing anything.
What are you good for?
And then the self-esteem of that person really comes low, and then the confidence goes. So they feel that's where the conflict occurs, and then it gets built in. The anger, the frustration of the relationships, that's where they kind of come to a blow.
And is that the part where you say, but what do you want? Irrespective of what they're doing for you,
purpose?
What do you want? I
always ask people, what's your purpose on your journey? What do you want? And when they actually really think, what do you mean, what do I want? And a lot of people really don't know what they want, and that's where they become stuck. And that's where my coaching comes in, where I probe, ask questions, and it's not me giving them a solution actually, it's me by actually giving them questions and asking them certain things. It comes out of them, and then we get to the cause. We get to the actually root cause of why she's actually feeling that way. And it could be that she actually does want, or he, I shouldn't keep saying she, but he or she wants to go out there and work and actually be in her own or his own by actually being successful, because everybody wants to be successful in their own right, whether they're a housewife, whether they're a house husband, or whatever they want to be.
Tranjeet, though, if I stick to the example I gave, she was saying to me, she'd be happy to be the homemaker, to bring the children up. She thought that was the buy-in of with her husband. However, I think what's coming out of this is that when she's realised that the husband is literally treating her badly, and throwing it in her face almost on a daily basis. She's absolutely gobsmacked.
Yeah.
Not gobsmacked. She's shocked.
Yeah.
She's shaken to the core that you, the man I love,
That's
is treating me like this just because.
Well, it's no respect,
and
is there?
and she, one of the last things she said to me many months ago, she goes, you know what? I want to look after the kids, but you know what? To hell with it. You know what I'll do? I will go and get a job, no problem. You know, and yes, we'll put the kids into full-time nursery, no problem, right? But just to show you, so you can't throw it in my face. You can't throw it in my face, right? That you will not be able to say that.
Yeah.
And guess what? From the moment she said that, he goes, oh, it's okay. You don't need to work.
Yeah.
She goes, yeah,
Yeah.
pal. I don't need to work after
Yeah.
what you've been saying to me.
Yeah.
Watch this. And then can you see there's a.
That becomes a struggle in the relationship. That becomes a strain because obviously
It's not healthy, is it?
It's not healthy, and that's where the breakdown of communication comes
So in that
the
abstract
breakdown.
example, what would you advise that
Like I
couple?
said, I would actually really get them to actually look at what they want, and in that instinct, I was actually
But with those-
really
with
sit
that
them down.
interplay,
Yeah,
yeah.
but interplay really, I would actually. What does he really want out of this? Does he really mean what he's saying, or is he just saying it flippantly, or you know, in anger he's saying that to her? So he really needs to be mindful on what he's actually saying and what does he want. So if he's actually doesn't really want his wife to work and wants to look after the children, he really needs to accept that she is at home and actually really get rid of these negative emotions that he's actually harboring. So it must be kind of some sort of stress level for him to actually keep saying that. Maybe, you know, he feels that there's not enough money coming in or something, or he feels that the pressure of bringing the income for her is that scenario, that he's actually bringing the income in, and maybe it's a lot of pressure for him, you know. And there can be a compromise. You know, she can equally go part-time. You know, there's always a compromise, or he needs to accept and not throw it in her face, and really sit down and discuss why does he keep throwing that in her face, and actually ask him the question, what's the purpose of him actually saying, what's important to him, and actually asking him the questions, what's important to you about, you know, this family environment.
I mean, in one context, he said, oh, I'll stick this for the children. I'm here for the children. And she feels really hurt by that, because what he's saying is,
it's not for her.
I'm doing all this for the children. I'm not doing it because of you.
And that's what happens. That's where the conflict occurs, where he's actually not really respecting her by actually saying those types of words. When a conflict occurs, it's really about. I mean, the strategies I use is actually getting them to actually be very reflective on what they're actually saying to each other. So actually, whatever he's.
For example.
So for example. So he's before the actual conflict's occurring, is first of all communicate and talk about what is actually the issue. Why is he actually feeling
what
this
is the
way?
heart of them?
Yeah,
What causes
what's
it?
causing
Getting
it.
down to the cause.
And then actually get them to be very reflective on what they're actually saying. So whatever he is actually saying when he's calm is for her or him, you know, for her to reflect back on what he's saying. So that is active listening. So exactly her words say back to her, then she understands that you've actually heard her. Paraphrasing, have you heard of that before?
Yes.
So you're paraphrasing each other's conversation, that you're actually listening. But really, first of all, get to the core. Why is he so upset and throwing it back into her face? And also actually saying, you know, I'm doing it for the children. What does his marriage mean to him? And then really get to that point. So asking him questions and actually really, what's his purpose? What you know, be specific.
Yeah.
So when I say be specific, what are the specifics behind him actually feeling upset that she's not working, or, you know, because it's not about her really.
Well,
Like I always say,
you know what makes me laugh? One of the first examples you ever gave was when I said, well, so how do you help couples? You went, well, for example, when a man comes home from work, rather than the wife and the children be, the wife's had a hard day, tension, running around the kids stressed, and she's waiting for the husband to go in to give him a hard time as well, because she's had a tough day. But what you've taught the wife to say is, listen, hey honey, how are you? You're looking lovely. But you so twisting it around. So even though they're feeling negative, but to say something positive.
Yeah. But first of all, I always get them to train their mind before they get to that space of actually, hi honey, sit down. She has to get to that space in her mind by obviously changing a negative
Finding
thought
the
pattern.
space, yeah.
Changing a negative thought patterns to when her thinking in her mind, well, I'm doing everything all day. He's at work, you know,
Yeah.
lucky him. I'm having to cook, clean,
Yeah.
children, everything, you know. This is some women. I'm not saying all
Yeah,
women.
that's the thought pattern.
That's
you
a
say.
thought pattern, and very angry. And when he gets in, I'm just going to give it to him.
And it's deeply ingrained.
So I get them to kind of change their habit of thinking by actually giving them strategies. By how about if you thought and looked at his, you know, he's working all day. I really appreciate him. I really kind of appreciate him. And I missed him actually all day to have that adult company because I've been with the children all day. So I'm really looking forward to him coming home. Then I can have that adult conversation. And I can't wait to tell him, you know, what I've done today, you know.
Yeah. But they're thinking about it in a positive sense.
So first of all, I have to get her to start, you know, doing this positive thinking by changing her language and her thought patterns. By, like I told you, I don't know whether I told you, by having that security guard in her brain, by saying no, don't let the negativity thoughts come in, and just the positive.
self-security guard.
So stop there. Let's think about it positively. So before he steps in, you've already changed your mindset on how you're going to actually deal with him.
Tranjeet, let's take a break there.
Okay.
We've got another guest joining us after the break, and we'll talk about from the security guard to the positive mindset.
Okay,
We'll take a
brilliant.
break.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
And my heart goes boom, boom, boom. And my heart goes boom, boom, boom. Hey!
So Tranjeet, you know, before the break, we were talking about, you know, in a relationship where a husband comes home, but you've trained the other partner who's at home of to think of positive things to say, to do, to feel, to behave, rather than the negativity, and that is critical change agent of the kind of signposting that you give.
It's changing the mindset. It's all about our mindset. Our mindset controls our reality, our life, our behaviours. So really, once we start changing our mindset, it's like our mind is like, I always say it's like the weather. It's up and down. It's, you know, you have a storm, hailstones, or sometimes it's sunny. You know, we all have to kind of change our mindsets ourselves. It's up to us. It's our choice. So we have to pick what scene we want in our mind. So if you want a positive scene, you have to start actually, you know, the self-talk we all have in our mind, our conscious mind, is actually be positive. So whatever we're talking to ourselves, make it positive instead of negative.
Talking of positive and sunny, I should have said this right at the start of the program.
Yeah.
Sunny is my dear friend, but also a very close colleague that I've worked with for the last 10 years. But Sunny, you know, just before we came on set, you said something very, very important, is that these things happen in communities. You know, we all come from different communities. We all live in England. We're all British, but we all come from different parts of communities: Sikh, African, Nigerian, Pakistani, Kashmiri, or wherever it may be. Yet we are all English as well. But I mean, do you find that when you're talking to people, are the themes cut through any communities, or is it certain things that happen, especially within communities? So, for example, in Asian communities, they live a lot more in extended families.
Yeah.
So dare I say, the kind of dynamics that are taking place are far different to other communities.
Absolutely. Obviously, in our Asian community, you're not just married to your husband, you're married to the whole family and the extended family. So you are not actually dealing with your issues with your husband, you're dealing with issues with the whole family. So that becomes an extra kind of, maybe should I say, a stress or anxiety, or a constant, that's what you're constantly maybe moaning or groaning or arguing with your partner, because it's impacting your life living, like for example, for an Asian woman.
Like Jabra and his wife were saying yesterday.
Yesterday she
kept saying, and your parents,
yeah,
you know,
so
or living with in-laws, and the
living with in-laws. That just what happens. We was talking yesterday.
Well, she wasn't saying in a negative way, but it's an extra dynamic when you first get married.
Because what happens, you know, a woman in our community goes and leaves her family behind and goes and lives in her husband's family, and that's all taking on all new responsibilities. So it can be very stressful and very daunting for a woman, and all, you know, and that's where the conflict occurs. You're not actually marrying you know, your husband, you haven't got his full attention because he's dealing with everybody else. So you're
on
not
a daily
actually,
basis.
daily basis. So you're not actually getting his undivided attention. It's going on every different aspects of. He's probably stressed as well. It's not just he can't actually say no to his family either. So he's in a no-win situation. So he's trying to please his wife. He's trying to please you know, his family. So it kind of comes to a point where he's kind of pulling his hair out and doesn't know who to please.
So Sonny, you saw the first 2 parts of this program, sitting offset. What are your thoughts about this whole thing of relationship and coaching and the impact it has in daily lives?
Well, you know, what I've seen, you know, coming from Africa and, you know, my African heritage, is very...
And you're headed Nigerian, is that
yeah,
correct?
I'm originally from Nigeria, and, you know, I'm British African, I think.
Yes.
What it is that, see, in different cultures, there are different ways by which, you know, couples function. Perhaps individually when they're living alone, you know, the 2.4 children,
Sure.
Or a family, or you know, in like Asian family, majority of Asian families back in the days are perhaps arranged. People are more, you know, modern now, and
It's
they
changing
tend to,
now, yeah,
and they
yeah,
tend
a little bit, yeah.
to make their own, you know, decisions. Now, it's not too dissimilar from the way the Africans are, because you see, in Africa, when you marry, you are marrying the whole family as well.
Yes.
But you see, you have to look at the pros and cons of that, and how I actually support married couples and their micro family, if you like, because you are not just married to your husband. Everybody knows you. You are well known within the. So the beauty of that.
So you're trying to please the whole family as well as your husband, aren't you? So
That's
really,
right.
Or your
So
wife,
it's family,
equally.
extended family, community.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
it's not just one individual.
What happens, how I've kind of like analysed it, looking back on it, is like when I got married, I was kind of, you know, my parents, I was in this kind of loving, with my parents and loving family, then they kind of put me in another loving family, but then obviously on top of that, it's more responsibility, because when you're a daughter, it's different, but when you're a daughter-in-law, it is different. So there's a lot of responsibility, and that's where a lot of the pressures come, I think, in a relationship, and you know, where the conflicts start arising.
Is that what you're saying? So there's different rules and regulations, and they increase as well.
Yeah.
And they're new. They're new, aren't they?
Yeah, but you see, what what we have to try and embrace is the fact that when the marriage is under threat of breakdown, those same families, because by virtue of the relationship that exists within the two families, they give you support. And that
they give you a lifeline.
Yeah, that's right. And that support can come in terms of, you know, advice. It can come in terms of counseling. It could be economic, because you know, majority of
a shoulder to cry on. An ear to listen.
That's it.
Yes.
So you know, it's got its own perks. But
it's got the positives as well.
That's right. But you see, the negative perhaps is because is that you are living in everybody's, you know, under, you know, you're operating
under the same roof. And the intensity.
And the intensity as well.
You don't get to kind of as well form that relationship that you really want with that person. You know, that intimate relationship, because you've got the whole family there, and that's what sometimes where the breakdown occurs, and that's what a lot of experiences I've heard of couples saying that it's been really hard, and they kind of even now they've moved out maybe from their in-laws and they're living by themselves, but they've always had still the past still haunting them, and they don't let go. So that still goes into their marriage now, and that's where that conflict still occurs until, you know, one or the other kind of actually lets go of the past and looks at the here and now, how they can move forward in that marriage, in that relationship. You know, then it's going to actually start again and fresh page. Let's move on. But a lot of these marriages or these partnerships are actually holding on to old baggage, and that's what's causing the conflict.
But are you saying, Tranjeet, that these people don't let go, or they temporarily let go, But if something bad happens, they bring it back up.
That's right. So when a conflict occurs, you put everything on the table. You throw anything and everything you can think of, and that's where, because you want to hurt that other person. And then when you calm down, you're thinking, well, why did I say that for? You kind of come to a thing, I shouldn't have said that.
So yesterday we were discussing this theme about forgive and forget. That many people forgive, but they don't forget. So when it happens the next time, they bring it back again. They go, listen, and by the way,
and they escalate
and they throw it back again.
And escalate something that is, you know, so minor.
That's
just becomes something.
But the point is, they've held it. They've held. So it's like me saying, "Sorry, I apologise." But the next time it happens, I'm going to say, "You know what? This, and this."
And
Tranjeet came up with this technique called timeline therapy, where it's not just the forgiveness that she helps you with; it's the deleting of the negative thing permanently.
It's the negative emotion. So if you're holding on to the negative emotions of, you know, the conflict you've had. So what we was talking about yesterday, it's more about yourself. So we harbour a lot of a negative emotion. So when we harbour a lot of negative emotion, we kind of, that's where the conflict occurs, the arguments occurs. But with timeline therapy, we delete, you know, obviously you can't delete memory, but you can delete the negative emotion onto that memory, and that's what timeline therapy does. It actually, you know,
helps
releases.
you to be able to
move
operate within time over matter.
Let go of the negativity.
So any anger you got, any fear, hurt, sadness, guilt, you can release those negative emotions via doing this therapy, and that's just and really, so nothing kind of like is attached to that feeling. So that you've got that memory still, but it's no negative emotion attached.
That is heavy. That is heavy. That
very
is
heavy stuff.
For somebody able to let go of that kind of negativity, which they've stored for virtually their whole life in many ways.
That's right.
You know, for years and years and years.
And can even
to be able to let that go.
Affect people from actually
growing. And remember, you have to want to let go of it.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the key thing. You know, emotional. You use that term, growing emotionally. You stop growing.
Absolutely.
Because you keep hitting this thing. You keep hitting this negativity, and you know, I had someone who I was at dinner with, a relative of mine, and you know, he's got a big job and everything, and I said, come on, you can do this, you can do this. He goes, shall I be honest with you? He goes, no one else knows, but I don't feel I have the confidence. And he goes, I'm just being honest with you. I looked at him and said, come here, I'll take you down a dark alley, I'll knock some confidence in you.
And it's the thing is a confidence
but
with
you know, I said it that way as a joke. First I said it as a joke, I said, come here, I'll take you down a dark alley, I'll knock some confidence in you. But I said, look, you know you said that? He goes, yeah. I said, let me tell you something. You know when I came to this event today, and I was waiting for you, and you know, the drinks reception, I said, you know what I was thinking? He goes, what were you thinking? I said, I was thinking, oh my God. I said, because as much as I was outwardly portraying that I was happy, confident, relaxed, I was thinking,
I don't know anybody.
Everyone else is talking to you, and I'm not talking. I said, I'm not talking. And I said, I kept drinking the orange juice, and then I drink another orange juice, and I must have got drunk on orange juice, because I was trying to make conversation, but no one's quite catching my eye to talk to, and people already in their circles. So I said, look, so don't worry. You know, you think you go through that experience, I go through that experience. And then he felt better. Because he goes, oh, if someone like you can go through that, then I feel a lot better.
I think a lot of people go through confidence issues, don't they? And that could be kind of from your past or from when you were a child. It could be a lot of things that actually harbouring what's caused you to be, you know, not to speak out and feel that way. And everybody feels that, but it's all about actually that self-talk of actually positive thinking and positive
self-talk or taught?
Self-taught and talk. So it's actually teaching yourself how to become confident, but equally the timeline therapy, like I spoke about yesterday, is can eliminate all those kind of, you know, negativity that's actually in the emotions.
Can I just say something? You see, what it is that majority of the people that have problems, they haven't got the opportunity or privilege to discuss it with someone, to be able to vent how they actually feel. Because when you talk about how you feel, a lot of problems, suddenly, you know, half of the problem is shared.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying to you? And that,
very
you know,
important.
that in itself, that function itself takes a lot of weight
when
off.
you mention self-talk, it's something that is very important.
And the self-talk has to be positive,
That's
because
right.
once you start talking negatively, that's where all this anger, frustration, you know, fear comes out of you, and that's why it's so important to self-talk but positively.
That's right.
But on that note of self-talk, can we do some more self-talking after the break?
Of course.
We'll take a break and we'll come and do some more self-talk.
Yeah, of course.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
And my heart